Hello and welcome to the final episode of Season 2 of On Screen. I'm your host, Dylan Wright, and I'm here to take you on a paper-selling journey through film and television. Before we get into the topic, I want to thank everybody for listening this season. It's been really fun doing the promos and having special guests on, and I hope you guys return for Season 3 next semester. But before we go into Season 3, we have to end Season 2, and I thought, what a better way to end Season 2 than to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time, The Office. Now, I'm talking about the U.S. Office, not the United Kingdom Office, which is also a good show. But the United States Office has a little closer to home feeling for me and my special guests today. We are having a returning Jessica Bonacci on the show and also a newcomer, Brooke Williams.
Hello.
Guys, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really great to be here. I was just talking to you, Dylan, before we started this podcast, and I said that I have podcast fever now because the last podcast that I was on was Doctor Who, so now The Office is totally different direction, but
Oh, yeah.
a lot of fun.
How about you, Brooke? How's it feel to be on your very first podcast talking about The Office?
I mean, I'm excited. We talk about The Office in informal settings all the time, so why not record a podcast about it?
That's my thoughts exactly with every single thing I talk about. So, getting into it, The Office takes place in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where a lot of us were born and raised, or at least in the area. So we definitely live for the different references, despite there not being a Chili's anywhere near Scranton. It takes place at a fictional paper company called Dunder Mifflin. It's not an actual place, everybody, that's not in Scranton.
What?
I mean, there is like Mifflin Avenue, right? I think that's one of the streets
And
in
it's based
Scranton.
off a building in Scranton.
Yep.
It's just not
Yeah.
shot there, obviously.
Yep, the pen paper company. The Office helped put Scranton on the map with the characters such as Michael Gary Scott, the regional manager of the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin. So let's start talking about the characters of The Office. We'll go around the horn, say who your favorite character is and why. We'll start with Brooke.
I have to say my favorite character is Dwight, just because like he's so unique and he's so ridiculous. And I don't know, it's just like I feel like every episode, like I always just laugh at what he says just because it is so ridiculous and so stupid. And it's like he's one of the smartest characters, but he also has like he's really bad with social cues and he has no common sense. And that's why it's just so entertaining.
Yeah.
False.
Dwight Kurt Schrute, the assistant to the regional manager of Dunder Mifflin. A character that only a man like Rainn Wilson can portray. Just so out there and wild. He owns a beet farm. He has this weird cousin Mose, and it's just
cousin Mose.
crazy stuff happens when Dwight's around. And Jess, I think your favorite character is connected to Mr. Dwight Schrute in a contentious way. Is that right?
That is correct. My favorite character is Jim Halpert. I think he is sarcastic. He's hilarious, and although he has his ups and downs throughout the series, overall I love the relationship he has with Dwight, the pranks they pull on each other. I love Jim's just looks right. He looks right at the camera. I love that. Whatever, I'm here. You know.
Yep.
It happens. Face.
The breaking of the fourth wall.
Yep.
Like letting the audience in on what is going on. What are we watching right now? And it's definitely become like a signature thing. The Jim Halpert. It happens a lot. Actually, there's a character in Parks and Recreation that has a similar thing to Jim, but I think does it a little better. Adam Scott's character, Ben Wyatt.
Yeah, I even do it in real life. Like when somebody says something really stupid, I find myself looking into the invisible camera like I'm in the office.
Yeah, always looking at the camera. The Office has basically taken over the reality.
It's funny how the characters in the show kind of mirror the people that you find around Scranton. I think they definitely did their research, and like there's always like the crazy boss person, and there's
the alcoholic mother of Meredith Palmer. But the Office characters, the background characters, are some of the most fleshed out background characters like in any TV show. Like you just look at like Oscar Martinez. He just started as just background character, and then he became this fully fleshed out person.
Yeah, and you see that with Meredith too. When she started off, she was just kind of in the background, and then she becomes this alcoholic bad mom who does whatever she pleases.
Yeah, they all develop their own personalities, and I think it works really well in the show. It helps make The Office like almost like you're part of a family, and you all have that dysfunctional uncle that tries to be funny, but nobody thinks he's funny like Michael is.
Yeah,
and it just makes you feel at home, and I think that's one of the biggest draws of the show. And there's always that emphasis on family, especially with Michael. He's always like trying to replace his like this hole in his heart with the people of The Office.
Yeah.
It's great. And you see some touching moments with Michael Scott, too.
Oh,
like
yeah.
when Pam has her art show, and then he shows up and he buys her painting, and then it's hanging in the office. So
Yeah.
it just, it really shows what kind of character Michael Scott is. I mean, he's crazy, and he doesn't always work the conventional way, but he really cares for the people he works with.
His ignorance is sometimes detrimental to the situation around him.
Yeah.
He often gets into more trouble than he stops trouble. He's a much better salesman than he is a boss.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like a case of being promoted into the wrong position, I think. Michael's probably one of my favorite characters. I just love his development, like how he grows. Because he starts off as kind of a clone of Ricky Gervais's character from the British office. And I think the United States office works a lot better when it tries to make its own thing. Because like the first season is basically just copying like the British office, and it doesn't really work as well as the later seasons.
Yeah, and each character, Michael grows into his own. Well, Steve Carell kind of found his niche with
Yeah.
Michael. And then you see, like, background characters come to life with Oscar, and even Creed. He gets
Creed.
So
I love Creed.
I love Creed Bratton. the mysterious man.
Creedthoughts.gov.
Yeah, he's the weirdest person ever portrayed in a television show that you simultaneously know too much about and not enough about.
Yeah, like when he comes in on Halloween with like the blood all over his clothing, and he's like, "Oh well, coincidental that it's Halloween, right?"
And they're doing like a murder party game, and he comes into the office late, and he's accused of fake murder, and he sprints out of the office and peels his car out of the parking lot trying to get away.
Yeah.
Or when the cops come in and
for the drugs,
for the
and he's
drugs.
like, "Let's just pretend to talk until the cops leave."
It's so good. I love all the background characters. Kevin Malone, just
Kevin.
hilarious, trying to scoop the chili back into the pot after he spills it all over the
A
floor.
metaphor for life, really.
Yeah, it really is. Kevin Malone is kind of everybody's kind of life totem. You
Definitely,
just see yourselves, and you want to be Jim or you want to be Pam, who we haven't talked about yet, but Pam Beasley is amazing.
Pam Beasley.
She's kind of the mother of The Office in a way.
Definitely.
Like definitely looking at Michael as a child. Oh Michael. Like I remember the one scene where they have a box shipped to the office.
Yeah.
I think it's for Gabe Lewis, who comes in after the merger, and he's another character that's crazy. But the secretary Aaron throws Michael a pair of scissors, and Pam is like trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the one where she listens in on the phone call, and she's like, "I like to, give him a second chance when he says something stupid the first time."
Yep.
She's like, "Nope, still here," and then she
Yeah.
actually puts the person through to
Yep.
his phone.
Yeah, or when she's talking to Creed on the phone when he's the temporary
Oh, yep.
manager. Yeah, and he's like, "Yo, so you want to come with me?" And she's feeling the calls for him. She's like, "Why does this always fall on me?" It's because she's the mom of the office.
And then she
solves
pretends to
problems.
be like the different clients so that he doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't ruin the business. It looks like it's a match made in heaven. God, but the one relationship that stays the strongest throughout The Office is, of course, Jim and Pam.
Goals.
Everybody always looks to them as a beacon of hope in a world where you see relationships crumbling down around you. It's definitely one of the most loving relationships, but not as loving as, of course, Dwight and Jim. Is there any favorite prank that Jim has pulled on Dwight that you guys want to talk about?
There's like so many. I mean, one of the ones the first one that comes to mind is like in the pilot when Jim puts Dwight's stuff in Jell-O.
Of course, a classic.
Yes.
Classic.
Oh gosh, there's so many pranks. I do love when he gift wraps Dwight's desk.
Oh, that's
I
great
love
one.
that.
Yeah, and when he comes in dressed as Dwight and he's like Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
That is a
That's
classic.
a good one.
That's
I
one
love that
scene. If
line.
you haven't seen the show, you've definitely seen that.
Yeah.
Much like the fire episode with the just that. Oh, that's one of the best cold opens ever. I mean, I love the fact that Jim published a book on party planning.
Garden party
By
book.
James Trickington.
When Jim kept at the garden party when he keeps walking
Yeah.
past Dwight.
Master James Halpert.
Oh, forgot my keys. Oh
Oh,
no.
and then the closing ceremonies where they have like the torches. Like I just love the pranks that are more on the elaborate side. That
Yeah.
he obviously
Yeah.
sat down and wrote an entire book. I think I saw a BuzzFeed article too. Somebody went through the whole show and they calculated how much money Jim spent on all of the pranks.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he would actually announce it, we're the one where he dressed up as Dwight. He's like, well, the glasses were $2, and I got the shirt at the Salvation Army.
And just the time and effort, the one where he has the red wire that he takes from Dwight, the back of Dwight's desk, and runs it up a telephone pole. He had to be there at 3 a.m. creating this path for this wire.
Mm-hmm. But it's worth it, Yeah. All these hijinks, the pranks, they're hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm glad
Asian Jim.
Does it.
Asian Jim was so good.
Hats off to you for not seeing race.
Oh, so good. With the good must also come the bad. Are there any characters, and I'm going to say Ryan Howard is mine, that you absolutely hate on The Office?
I mean, I agree that I'm not really a huge fan of Ryan. He wasn't really that bad in the beginning.
Yeah, because he was kind of the audience surrogate at first.
Yeah.
He was new to the place. And
it was kind of wow, this guy Michael is an idiot.
Yeah. Yep.
And Ryan kind of showed that, but...
He became a real jerk.
Yeah, even I don't know, the way he treats Michael, especially when he starts that Woof company.
Woof.com.
Yeah, and he lets Michael invest all of that money, and even when he knows he's going to lose the company, he still he agrees with Michael when he's like, oh, you could take out a second mortgage on your condo.
Yeah.
He's just a really
horrible
shady guy.
person.
Yeah. And the way he treats Kelly, too, it just makes
terribly.
him so angry.
Terribly. I hate Ryan Howard with a passion. I loved when Jim was co-manager and he puts Ryan in a closet for his office.
That was great.
I was thank God this guy is getting some kind of comeuppance. Yeah. He deserves more, but
the fact that he stays in that little closet too is just really funny.
It is. Oh, it's such a good power play.
Yeah.
Another character that you can kind of see as a little iffy, I think, is Angela Martin at times.
Yeah.
Sometimes I love Angela. She's hilarious. But then, the stuff with Andy and Dwight was a really, a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, it was just a really messed up situation. And it happened twice. It wasn't the first time it happened.
Ridiculous.
And then when her and Pam are both pregnant at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just, she just gets on everyone's nerves. And I hate Angela. But you kind of have to love her because you know that they created her as someone that the audience
it's someone you're
has
supposed to
dislike.
Hate. Yeah.
So you just love that she is such a strong character.
Yeah.
She's got her cat. She's got her quirks about her. She's could be a terrible, terrible person, but she could also sometimes be the rational one.
I love in The Office that almost everybody kind of has a defined character. Even characters you only see a little bit, Joe from Saber, played by Kathy Bates, beautifully. I love her character because it's such a minor role for such a pretty well-renowned actress.
Yeah, but I love Robert California.
Oh, Robert California. Oh,
Robert California.
Don't get me started on Robert California. That is one of my favorite characters in The Office. He is so weird.
But it works. And he's brilliant.
Yeah, James Spader plays that character so well. I loved when he first appeared in the Search Committee episode.
Yeah.
And he just intimidates everybody.
He went down to Tallahassee and talked Joe out of her job.
Yeah, and you can see that character doing that. That's how great it is.
Yeah, I love the Halloween one where he spends the day finding out what each individual person's greatest fear is, and then he just tells this really long story, and then he just puts his sunglasses on and walks out.
It's so
his kid's
good.
sitting there laughing.
I love Robert California. Gabe Lewis is. There's this episode. I don't think you got to it yet, Jess, where they go to Gettysburg, and
Oh yeah, I did.
Did you?
I did.
I loved that they mistook him as Abraham Lincoln, and he had a whole thing planned out.
And he just has the hat on.
It's happened before. That is
it's
so
very
good.
hard for me to go to museums, historical sites, schools.
He had this whole monologue planned out.
Yeah.
And everyone's really into it. They're like, oh, no, don't go into the theater, Lincoln. It's so good. What are some of your guys' favorite episodes?
One of my favorite episodes by far is Scott's Tots.
Oh, I hate that episode so much.
Oh,
I get so uncomfortable with that.
That's the thing, it's so cringeworthy, but I just think it's so funny. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, 10 years prior, Michael promises a class of elementary school students that he will pay for their college if they graduate. So years go by, and then it finally catches up with him, and they're graduating, and they expect Michael to pay for their school, and he can't. And he has to tell this group of 30 kids, listen, you're not going to college. And it's just
hey, Mr. Scott,
and they write that song
what
for
you going to do, make a dreams come true. So bad.
And just him telling them is the most cringeworthy thing, but I just think it's so funny. And I love when Stanley pulls up the article from the newspaper 10 years ago, and it's local man pledges college to students.
Yeah. I love it. How about you, Jess?
I do love the when Stanley has a heart attack.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
episodes.
The stress relief.
The stress relief. And I think they're brilliant.
Yeah, it has it has like two of the best scenes by far
Yeah.
in The Office. The cold open with Dwight's fire drill.
Yeah, today smoking's gonna save lives.
The fire's shooting at us. And of course the first aid tutorial.
When Dwight stabs the first aid
Where's the
mannequin.
heart? The precious heart. And like even those scenes have like perfect character moments. Like when Dwight's like, check the wallet, see if he's an organ donor. Creed goes, he doesn't have a wallet. I checked. Like the fact that he went in this dummy and checked if there was a wallet.
It just Creed is such a character. But you know what? A lot of the episodes with Shroot Farms I think are just hilarious.
Oh, definitely.
I love the garden party.
Oh, that's
when Mose takes all their cars and
and then he tries to jump in with the bike.
So he just runs across the top of them.
Yep.
Oh, that was Mose is such a. I'm glad Mose exists.
Oh, Mose is great, and he's actually one of the show's writers.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Michael Schur, yeah, and he actually also helped write Parks and Recreation. The thing with the garden party, you also get some really big backstory on Andy Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
Like his parents and his brother, like they spoil his brother so much that they took like his father's name and gave it to the younger brother.
Yeah, after he was already like 4 years old.
Yeah, like that's horrible. That's a horrible thing to do to a kid.
Yeah.
And the brother, of course, is played by Josh Groban, which is amazing because
when
it's
he starts
Josh Groban.
singing, it's just like, please continue.
Yeah, and like he mistakes everybody for Pam.
Yeah.
Bye, Tuna. Bye, Pam.
And like Phyllis is standing there. Oh yeah, but
So
as for Shroot Farms though, I really like the one too where Jim and Pam decide to like spend the night there, and Dwight tells them that like the different rooms. He's like, "There's irrigation, America,
and nighttime."
Yeah, and then
irrigation.
And I love the part where they go into Dwight's room and he's like, "Oh, Mose has nightmares." He's like, "Oh yes, ever since the storm." And they're just like, "What century are we in?"
Good night, Dwight.
Or I love when Dwight says that we are wireless now.
Yeah.
But
once we find out where Mose hit those wires,
yeah,
we'll have everything back on. One of my favorite episodes is the christening episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where they hold the christening for Cece. And my favorite moment is when like they stop Angela. Somebody stop that woman, she stole my baby. And then Kevin's like, look at the scones, thousands of them. What kind of woman steals scones from a pregnant woman? Like, so good.
Yeah, and then when Andy and Michael get on the bus to go to like Mexico.
Oh, that was
Do the service trip, yeah.
And they're not even halfway there yet, and then they get off and they're like, I'm just so happy to be back in a country that has movies.
They're not even out of the state yet. They're just like, nope, we're not doing this again. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on The Office?
It's just one of my favorite shows. I always find myself going back to it if I finish a different show, and I kind of want to, because the reason I started watching it is because I finished How I Met Your Mother, and I needed to fill the void, because that's another one of my favorites. Same. But, so I decided to watch that, because I was like, oh, it's a rite of passage. I'm from the area, I may as well. And it's just like, I think this is my third time that I've been watching it, and it was really comforting too when I spent my first year of school away, and it was just like nice to watch it and like think of home. So that's kind of one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a comfort food show for me. What about you, Jess? What would your closing thoughts be?
Well, I definitely agree with the comfort food show idea, because I was watching Gilmore Girls, and then once I got
another
through,
amazing show that I will
Awesome.
definitely do an episode on when I finally finish it.
if they release another
Yeah.
year in the life part. But I just finished watching like that behemoth of a show, because it's huge and I didn't know what to do. So then Dylan, you recommended watching The Office to me, and for so long I resisted. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch it, it's about Scranton. I was like, oh my goodness. But then I watched the first episode and I was like, okay.
Yeah. No, the first season it's a little weak, but yeah.
But like it got like as the season progressed, it got funnier, and I was like, this show is really special. And so I'm really glad that I got to see it, because for a while Friends was like kind of my go-to show. If I didn't know what to watch, I would just rewatch Friends, because I've seen all the episodes, because Friends is a fantastic show, probably my top sitcom show.
Mm-hmm.
So now The Office is going to be my other go-to, because it's funny, it's stupid, and sometimes you just need a break from all of the like actual crazy things that happen in your life, and you need to go live as a part of these characters' lives and follow the antics that happen at Dunder Mifflin. So I think it's like a great show to just watch for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really love about The Office is that it has a lot of heart. Like, there's a lot of really deep emotional like ideas that are formed in The Office, and you really just start to attach yourselves to the characters, and you wish the best for them.
Yeah.
You want them to succeed, and I think that there's a real power in that. And that's why it's such a feel-good show, because you know that you could always just escape to Dunder Mifflin. It's one of my favorite shows, and I think the connection to the area makes it pretty strong. But it's the characters that like keep me there and keep me staying and keep me coming back for more. I really want to thank you guys for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for helping me close out the second season of On Screen. I want to thank you, audience, for, again, listening to the second season of On Screen. As always, if you have any suggestions for future topics for season 3, please let us know. I would love to cover anything that you'd like to hear. And as always, until next time, Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Take care.
I declare bankruptcy!